It's in you. You possess the power. Just go hard. I need some motivation. Every day I try a little harder, but my dedication. Keep my head way, way above the water. Proud of myself when I yell at the wall. Begging to run, but I needed to crawl. I see the finish line up ahead, trying to get traction from all of this tread. I am a king, I am a queen. I am more than the people can see. I am strong when I'm needing to be. Vulnerability's nothing to me. You can try, but I'm unshakable. My successes is never debatable. I'm chameleon, I'm so interchangeable. Here's to you and all that you are capable.
You gotta go hard, better get it. You gotta go hard, better get it. You gotta go hard, better get it. Better get it. You gotta go hard, better get it. You gotta go hard, better get it. You gotta go hard, better get it. Better get it. You gotta go hard, better get it. You gotta go hard, better get it. You gotta go hard, better get it. Better get it. You gotta go hard, better get it. You gotta go hard, better get it. You gotta go hard, better get it. Better get it.
We suffer more in imagination than in reality. Seneca. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. Guys, gals, how's it going? Welcome back to the podcast that helps you be the leader. I'm Jeramiah Solven, and I'm your host. And you guys, if you're new to the show, this is a show that we help you with your leadership, your mindset, and it's designed to take not just you to victory, but your entire team. So we're going to dive into everything from building a business to taking care of your health to being more productive to transforming yourself. And you guys know that I don't do a whole lot of guests, but recently I've been bringing on more and more people. And so I'm excited to bring in today's guest. He's a friend, a former client, serial entrepreneur, guy who's built multiple businesses in different industries, which I'm really excited about. And he's a family man. He's a father. He's a husband. He's also an investor. But just overall, he's just a good man. He gets it done. He has an eye for detail and attention to detail. So you guys that are out there that love, your numbers people, your systematic thinkers, and actually for those of you that maybe that gets in your way sometimes, this is a great person to learn from because he has that perfect blend now of being able to be a strategic thinker, but then operate intuitively along the way. So I'm excited to bring in today's guest, Lucio Perrina.
Thank you, man. Appreciate you. Excited to be here.
Hell yeah. To kick this off, dude, what did I miss on your intro?
You crushed that, man. That felt good.
Yeah.
Felt right. Yeah. No, you nailed it.
Yeah. A random question for you to kick
sure.
it off. What's something hard that you overcame?
Ooh, something hard that I've had to overcome.
Yeah.
My mind goes straight to business.
Okay.
Always.
All right.
So I'm going to say the hardest thing to overcome was
just like one of those top things.
Yeah, was taking the apron off. That's what we call it. And in the food business, a lot of our business are in the food industry, and the terminology basically means, removing yourself from being inside the business to working on the business. And that transition was probably one of the most stressful years of my life, to be honest. But overcoming that was huge. I mean, it wasn't an overnight thing. Like, we're so used to, and my father, he came from an immigrant family. So naturally we're hard work. We want to do the work, that's the way we operate. It's in our DNA, So it's always, we wanted to do it. We grew up hearing, the owner needs to be there. Nobody has the eyes like the owner, like kind of the small mom and pop mentality. So in order to overcome that, it was like pulling from like a magnet, like kept getting sucked back in.
Yeah.
And it really was a huge challenge in our careers. But honestly, as soon as we overcame that, that's when the growth really started to speed up.
It reminds me of when I first hired somebody to do my yard work. It was just like
I
back.
could do a better job than that guy. Yeah.
Well, I remember I was in the Ranger Regiment. This is like 2000, must have been 14 or something like that. But I was constantly leaving and coming back, and my house was in Washington. So every time I came back to the house, the yard would just be a complete mess. It was a jungle. And I was I'd be gone for a training exercise or whatever, come back, and then I would spend my whole weekend doing yard work, like just mowing the lawn, cutting whatever the hell. And I just didn't want to do anything after I got done with that. I didn't want to do any family time or anything. I was just exhausted.
Yeah.
So anyways, I ended up, I had this pride in doing the yard work. I was like, a man should do his own yard work.
Yeah.
But it was this other side. It was like taking up all my time.
Exactly.
So I ended up finally hiring somebody. And when I did, I couldn't get them to do it full time. I said, I'll do it one week. They can do it the other week. And we'll just take turns back and forth.
Transition, baby. You know?
And I remember I went into work, and then my guys were like making fun of me. They're like, "Oh, sir, you hired somebody to do your lawn, huh? Oh, you freaking good old boy," like all this type of shit. So they were talking shit the whole time.
Yeah.
But that mentality, I call it an I'm a mentality. I'm gonna do it myself.
Yeah.
And it sounds like what you're saying is breaking free of the I'm a mentality.
Yes.
And moving yourself into a different position was something difficult. Yeah.
And understanding if you're busy or are you productive. That was like a big shift in my mentality. Like, it started by recapping my days, right? And at the end of the day, I would see, what did I actually get done today? I felt like, we had these conversations with Angelo. It's like, dude, I can't believe how busy we are all the time. And I feel like I did nothing.
Yeah.
Like the needle hasn't moved at the end of the day. So it's, it's about prioritizing the high leverage tasks that you should be doing that are going to propel you forward.
Right.
And eliminating as many of the small tasks, the busy things that even if they're done at 80% of the level that you would do it, that's still okay.
Yeah.
And being able to accept that is a big thing. Because most business owners, they want to be perfectionists, right? As soon as you sub out a task, you can monitor it and set up systems of accountability and things like that to make sure they're getting done to your standards, but it's never going to be the way you do it. And just accepting that, and that's okay. I'd rather have 100 restaurant locations that operate at 90% than one that's at 98%.
Yeah.
So busy versus productive. That was a big shift in my mentality. 100%.
Give the guys and the listeners an overview of all the different pots that you have and all the different places your hand is. How many businesses you have, and just kind of give them the overall.
Dude, it's crazy.
Picture if you can.
Yeah, we have like the perfect recipe of like ADD entrepreneurs. So we started we have a family history of food, like a deep. First of all, our entire family's in Italy besides our immediate family, and then me and my two brothers are in business together. I'm right in the middle, and we've been together from day one. From the minute we graduated college, we were into our first restaurant location. We got a good deal. Actually, in a super failing restaurant location, which we didn't realize at the time because I was 21.
Yeah.
So we thought, like, I remember looking at the financials, and we thought there was 50% margins in the restaurant business.
Yeah.
And realistically, that was like the gross profit. We had no clue what we were doing when we got into it. But in hindsight, we would have never done it if we knew the real numbers of that place. So we don't regret it at all. But that's where it started. So we knew that we had a base in food. Little by little, the restaurant industry is interesting because there's so many moving parts. There's a lot of people involved.
Yeah.
It's like running 6 or 7 different businesses within one business. It's like the host desk is its own operation. The kitchen is its own operation. The serving the tables is its own operation. You have a backdoor business with the catering. That's a whole nother set of systems. And there's a lot of people involved too. So we had to learn how to manage people early on.
Yeah.
So to start, it was the hardest business. I still believe out of everything we do, it's the hardest business. And that's what makes us look at all these other businesses that come up as opportunities. And we think like, yeah, that's a piece of cake compared to the restaurant. So we started with one restaurant, then we opened a second. Then we ran into COVID. During COVID, we actually were doing 2 things at the same time. We were looking to open another location, which we did. We got a good deal because obviously people weren't opening restaurants at the time. So we had the awareness enough to know that now's the time to strike to get a location for a deal. So we did that. We also secured the back door by buying an insurance company. So the thought process there was, we had no idea. Think about COVID when it just started. Like, you had no clue what was going to happen. Like, there was so much unknown.
Yeah.
So we thought, what is the safest industry that if the restaurants really hit, like they really tank, because that's a real possibility, that the thing will still be standing and we could support our lives. So that's how we got into the insurance business, which, we started to learn about sales, cold calling, lead generation. We learned a whole new side of business that we didn't learn from the restaurants. And then from there, we got into, it's all about the people you meet along the way too. So we met some really great operators that became very close to us that we felt comfortable enough to partner with. And from there, we opened a solar roofing and water filtration company using the lessons that we learned from the insurance company. So it's a lot of internal sales, external sales, like call center style business. But we used all of our knowledge from the other things. It makes perfect sense. We can execute on that easily, like the hospitality side of it, the customer service side of it. So that's a growing situation right now. We also opened, I completely forgot about Nutre. So when we were in our first restaurant, we thought we hated the restaurant business, because we didn't know how to operate it correctly. Mm-hmm. We spent all of our time there, literally 7 days a week, morning and night. So we thought, like, dude, we got to find a way to not do this anymore. We need to find a way out. We know we have a good knowledge in food. My older brother's overweight. My father's diabetic. We started prepping meals for them. Little by little, that became a business out of the back door of our first restaurant location. Next thing you know, that thing's taking on a life of its own, and it's our biggest company right now. So that business taught us e-commerce, marketing, email marketing, Facebook marketing, Google, everything, so each one of these business, we're taking the basic principles that apply to every business, and then we're learning the nuances of each one and just expanding our knowledge. So that's how we ended up with all the stuff that we have right now. We've also been very keen to real estate the whole way through. My father has been flipping houses, and he was in the construction business his whole life. So we've been buying real estate from day one. I mean, from the time that we bought our first property in probably 2010 or something like that. So every year or two, we're not like full time on real estate, but we're consistently looking for deals and we're acquiring properties. We've been doing that every year since we've started. So we also started a company, an investment company that invests into real estate deals. So we have a partner in that as well. And we're using our knowledge, from real estate and construction. So my older brother also has his general contractor's license. So we've leveraged that. We do a lot of different shit.
Yeah. What I love about it is, I think about the guy that's the starting entrepreneur. Yeah. And a lot of times these younger guys beat themselves up from switching from thing to thing to thing. Yeah. But there's a lot of value. Even I was guilty of that. But my mentality was, everything that I started and either decided, hey, I'm going to move on for this or I'm going to build upon it. It was just about compounding that experience. Yes. And I think there's so much value in whether you stay with something or whether you don't, and just the experience that you pull from it to build the next thing, Yes. And that sounds like what you guys have done over the years.
Yeah, honestly, that tore me apart and it tore us apart for the longest time because we felt like, dude, we listen to mentors and, and people you hear online and their biggest thing is just, you need to stay focused. Focus on one thing and do that thing great. And we're over here doing all kinds of different things, but at the same time, each one is working. Yeah. And they're growing. So there was one point in time that we're just like, we just need to double. First of all, there's three of us. So that's always been our defense to it. If it was one of us trying to do all these things, I don't think it's possible. Yeah. You would need to have amazing partners or, a crazy team. It would have to be a special set of circumstances in order to do it. But all three of us are good at completely different things. So depending on the business, we deploy each other as assets into the business at different times. For example, Nutre, okay, it's at a point of growth where it needs operational help. We can't get through this plateau, whether it's, logistics and delivery or actually cooking the food. I move into the lead of that company for that period of time. The restaurants were struggling with service. We need to get the takeout sales up, whatever it is. Okay, that's my specialty. I get planted in for a certain amount of time while Angelo or Tino, they backfill at the other locations. So we're kind of interchangeable. It's where each company needs the help, we move into place and we take our positions for, short stints of time. Usually it's 4 months, 6 months. And then we recalibrate and we assess the situation. What's the next move? Yeah,
just simple blocking and tackling. How can we cover down for each other so the other one can move and then just keep building too?
Yeah. So as these things keep compiling, like you said, we did our first flip. It's okay, is this one thing too many, or do we just take what we learned from that and find a way to make it happen? And I went to like a mastermind conference. This was probably like 5 years ago, maybe last 4 years ago, something like that. And I actually went to the front of the group, and that's what I proposed. Like, I was on the hot seat for this conference, and my ask was like, I felt like I was doing too many things and I didn't know which one to focus on. Like, I'm looking for help. Anybody who has experience with doing too many things and, you know, losing focus and stuff like that. And one guy stood up and he was like, how do you define too many things? He's like, that's bullshit. It's subjective. It's like, if you guys are handling it and it's working and everybody's happy, like, what makes it too many things? Like, why are you looking at it from that light? And from that day, honestly, I'm like, fuck it. You know? And that was kind of the message to everybody else. And we doubled down on it, you know? And it's interesting because the more things that you do and you prove success in different industries, it keeps attracting other entrepreneurs that want to be a part of it with us.
Right.
So it's snowballing. Like, now it's compounding. And that's exactly where we're at right now.
I mean, it's like, opportunities happen from collaborations all the time. Like, and that's just how the game of business is done. You know, you meet good people, you want to do business with them, it keeps building. And you guys weren't setting out with that intention, but you started collaborating with a lot of different industries, and that just helped build the next thing and the next thing and the next thing.
Exactly. And the people you meet along the way is huge. I think one thing we've been great at is like identifying talent. Like, I think we're authentic, real people. And we're like hard workers, we're family people, and we attract people like that, you know? So it's like, we can easily identify people that we feel comfortable with. You know, we have like a vetting process too. You know, it doesn't happen overnight. But, you know, relationships get built over time. Next thing you know, it's like, hey, what do you guys think about doing this together? Like, all right, we measure it. How much time is it going to take from us? Yeah. You know, what does the next couple of years look like? You know, now we look at businesses a little bit differently. It's all about how much time needs to be spent there and what's the end game.
I want to talk to you about that, and then I want to ask you another question too, which I'll plant a seed on. I want to talk to you about recruiting talent, building teams, because I know that'll help out the listeners a lot. Yeah. Because if you guys have friends, family members, business partners that you're trying to figure out are a good fit for what you're currently doing or gonna do, you're gonna want to listen to that part. And then the second thing is, you know, in today's world, people don't really know what hardship is. You know, we have a very soft culture. Yes. And one of the things I love about entrepreneurship and just entrepreneurs that have been doing it a while is that they know true hardship. Yep. You know, I've done a lot of tough things being in the military, but it's a different level of tough when you're an entrepreneur. You know, you're responsible literally for the clothes that you're putting on your employees' back, like their salaries, how they're taking care of their families, all that type of stuff. So there's a lot of lives at risk as an entrepreneur. So I want to hit on both of those. Yeah. We'll come back to the hardest part in a moment, or like those hard moments. When it comes to like building and recruiting the right people, like what are some principles that you live by to bring in talent, either to build as part of the team or even to do potential collaborations with in the future? How do you vet your people and pick the right people?
As far as hiring goes, so you're talking more like on an employee level or like partnership level?
A little of both, like just as far as bringing good people into your life for either a professional relationship, collaboration, friendship. What are some principles that you have that you put people through? Like for me, one thing is I don't develop long-term plans with somebody until I've known them for about 6 months to a year, because you don't really know what who a person really is until you've seen them go through stress. Yes. And they'll go to their survival instincts when they're stressed out, right? So I watch that. How do they handle stress? That's one of my principles. I also look at how do they handle their money and how do they handle their current relationships? What's the most long-lasting relationship that they have right now and why? Yep. Those are some principles for me. So just out of curiosity for you.
Yeah, that's a good point. I would say, first of all, it doesn't happen overnight. Like relationships take a while to be developed and for people to really to show their true colors. So I would say 100% is like on a partnership level, or even like a higher level position. It's at least 6 months to really see what this person's about. And I'm watching, they're almost their every move, like you said. How do they handle different situations? But for me, number one, it's integrity, and it's character. You know, what kind of person what kind of person are you? Are you someone that tells the truth? Because if you tell one little white lie to me, you're dead.
Yeah.
I could easily, you're out.
Yeah, especially when things aren't even hard.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Like, why would you, exactly. Like, what does shit look like when shit really hits the fan? Like, honesty is huge for us. Like, there's almost anything we tell our employees, like there's almost nothing that you could do wrong that we can't get through if you're honest and we could talk about it.
Yeah.
If you lie your way through it, we're going to have a problem.
Yeah.
It's not going to work. The second thing is hunger. Hungry people. Like, we don't like to be around comfortable people.
Yeah.
We're not comfortable.
Yeah.
Like, we're comfortable, but we constantly feel like we're being chased with a gun. Like, that's the kind of people that we want to be around, especially in a partnership. Like,
yeah, you can't teach heart.
Exactly. Like, I want like the Rudy, like fucking someone who's just getting after it all the time. Like, there's never enough. Like, that drive. Like, you can't teach that, like you said. And the third thing is intelligence. So, you can measure that just by a conversation, and you could pick up on it pretty quickly, like just emotional intelligence. How quickly can you learn?
How do you measure intelligence? 'Cause there's a lot of different ways to measure it. So what are some things that you look for? You're obviously not checking the guy's SAT scores or whatever, but what are some signs of an intelligent person from your lens?
I think it's the biggest thing is how quickly can you learn? Like, are you a quick learner? Do people pick up on things fast? It'll be conversations with people or emails, and it's like, did they skip over? Did they respond to the entire thing? Did they catch every detail of what was being talked about? You know what I mean? Or are they like a less thorough person?
Yeah.
I guess just kind of two different things, but I don't know. It's hard to measure intelligence.
But implementation is a part of what you're saying.
Yeah. It's like execution. It's, it's, I don't know. There's no perfect science to measure it. I kind of go based just on instinct. Like I've over 300 employees now, and I've hired like probably a majority of them.
Yeah.
So I go a lot based on just the way I feel by talking to them. I can just sense if they have, a certain level of it. Are they hungry? Are they intelligent?
Yeah.
Do they have high integrity? I could do that on a 5-minute phone call.
My dad we used to hunt bears as a kid, and my dad we would assess dogs. We'd go out and we would build our dog hunting team or our bear hunting team with dogs, right? So we were recruiting dogs, and we'd go out and kind of like get a feel for the dogs that we were gonna bring into our pack and everything. And we'd be sitting there, the dogs, in front of us out in the mountain, and the old timers would sit there and they'd be cracking a beer, talking about each of the dogs and pointing them out, and talking about the talent of this one, the talent of that one, and then they'd point at the one, and they'd be like, that dog won't hunt.
Yeah.
When you're talking about
it's the same thing, man. It really is.
With people and intelligence, it's like that guy's. He's not going to hunt.
He doesn't get it. He just doesn't get it.
Yeah. I used to, intelligence is a really interesting subject for me, because like I used to have massive testing anxiety. So I would do poorly on tests, SATs, that sort of thing. But obviously I'm really successful now, or to some degree, right? And everywhere I've gone, I've done relatively well, mostly just because I got good at failing.
Yeah.
But point is that one of the things I associate intelligence with is your ability to make intelligent decisions. Mm-hmm. So there's a lot of smart people out there that take pride in how much they know.
Yeah.
Like, oh, I know this, I know this, I know this. And they're like these intellects. They can give you the facts. They can retain information. They're know-it-alls.
Yeah.
But then their life is a complete shit show.
Right. Sounds like an ego.
Right.
Stopped right there.
Yeah. It's like intelligent people make intelligent decisions. So I don't care how much you know. Like, what does your life say about how smart you are too?
Yeah. That's a really good point. You can be intelligent, but have a big ego,
right?
And then you're stopped right there.
Yeah. What are maybe one or two things where it's like a showstopper? I mean, obviously you mentioned honesty, but if you see somebody you won't hire or bring in, like outside of honesty, what are some red flags for you personally?
Somebody that I won't bring in. It's really positional. Like I get like so granular when I think about hiring people. Like it depends on the position, like if I'm hiring a restaurant manager, I'm trying to identify specifically, do they like people?
Okay.
Like that, that'll be the thing like front of mind. Cause there's plenty of managers out there that just, they know what to say. Yeah. This is how, hospitality, it starts at the front door, but in the, and that this motherfucker hates people. You know what I mean? Like he hasn't left his basement in 3 months, you know, but he's a good interviewer, you know? So I'm trying to identify, it depends on the position,
Yeah.
to be honest, you know? But the higher overarching things are those 3 things. Even in any management position for me, it's integrity, it's intelligence, and I already forgot the third one.
I forgot it too, but those are solid as well.
Yeah.
Integrity and intelligence, 2 eyes right
Yeah,
there.
those 2 are good.
I also like what you did though. For all you guys that are listening, you know, when you're talking about bringing a team member in, whether it's to your business or to your life, one of the things that Lucio said that he did is he's putting himself in his customer's perspective, and he's kind of like role playing and figuring out if that person that he's bringing in is going to be a good fit for the
Yes.
customer, and so he's using perception to kind of play this mental game of chess, and you know how that applies to your personal life is, you know, if you have friends and you're trying to figure out if you want to keep them around, are they good people to other people that rather than you? You know,
Exactly.
and that's a big indicator of whether or not you should probably keep that person.
Fit is a big deal too. You know, like what's the culture of the company? You know, like the other leaders in the company. Fit is a weird one because it's more about matching personalities. You know, like in matching values. So that's tough. Like when hiring, a lot of it has to do with fit. Like we've had people that check all the boxes, you know, they cover
Like whether or not they're a good fit for the organization.
Yeah, exactly. They check all the boxes for the position, but they could really fail miserably at one location, and they'll do great at another, just based on the mix of personalities. It's like, I look at it like building a team. It's like on Madden, like, you know, like building an NFL team.
Yeah.
You know, it's like you need the perfect balance of each personality. You don't have 10 Tom Brady's on one team. You know, like you need role players, you need leaders, you need, but it all needs to mesh together perfectly. It's like baking a cake. You know, like you have just a little bit too much baking powder and the thing doesn't rise.
Yeah.
If it's the perfect combination of ingredients, you build something special. Now it's not just 5 ingredients in a bowl. You created something different. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely reminds me of like building out infantry squads and infantry platoons overseas. Like you would put these guys together, and if you had a bunch of just go-getter, aggressive type person in one squad, it's like that could be good, but then what's that do to the dynamic of the entire platoon that you're building? You have one squad that's just going to be go, 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 and obviously if you have a group of guys that are like that, ego gets involved. Now all of a sudden this whole squad thinks they're better than everybody else.
Right.
They've kind of created their own identity, and now they're moving away from the entire pack and they're their own team, and everybody else is kind of starting to bitch and complain.
Yes.
And it's like now you have 2 different teams and there's personality conflicts.
That's honestly, in everything that we do at the level of employees and the amount of just sheer volume of people that we have, that's the biggest challenge, is balancing personalities and people.
Yeah.
Which is like, it's something at times it's like, I don't want to deal with this. You know, it's like this guy said something to this girl and blah, 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 or this one's banging that one, or, you know what I mean? Like there's so much bullshit that comes with having a lot of different people.
Yeah.
But if you can get it right, and you have the right combination of people, you could create something special.
And that's why character is so important, because if people are going to mess up and do wrong, at least if they have good, strong character, what they're messing up on are just mistakes.
Right.
And it's not like character flaws.
100%.
You know?
100%.
Bringing it back to hard times in business, you know, what were some of the, I don't know if we can do this moments, you know, like, I don't know if I can do this. I don't know if we can do this in business and entrepreneurship for yourself.
As you were saying that, I got brought back to, there was one day we were in, it's probably like 2019 or 2018, and we had 100 subscribers for Nutray, and we were doing it out of our biggest restaurant location. We had a big kitchen, and it was, you know, the whole team was me, Angelo, and Tino, me and my 2 brothers. And Angelo would come in when the kitchen closed at 10 o'clock. He would cook overnight. So he would work all night, then cook overnight. Then me and Tino, my younger brother, would come in at like 2 or 3 in the morning. As the food's like starting to come out, we would start fulfilling the orders, boxing them up. And then the next day, Tino would deliver.
This is like 100 subscribers a week?
Yeah, a week.
Okay.
And we were stuck there for like what felt like fucking 20 years, you know? But it was probably like a year.
Yeah. But
and then,
7 days a week.
Yeah,
you know?
that's what was going on for a year straight. You know, we were doing that whole like overnight thing at least 3 days a week.
Yeah.
And at that same time, around that time, the first website we built completely crashed.
Yeah.
So we got into like a really terrible deal with the tech developer, which is common. Tech people, you know, you can really get into a mess with web developers, especially if it's a custom website, but that's a whole nother conversation. And that whole system crashed. Boom. We lost everything overnight. So we had no customer information. We didn't know where the orders were going that week. And literally then we sorted through the whole mess. The next week, me and Gelatino met in the office and we were like, okay, is this company just wasting our time? Like, is this going anywhere?
Yeah.
Like, and we were just so confident in the future of it, you know, like the way people were eating at the time, like meal prep wasn't really a big thing, but it made so much sense to us, like the customers that were getting it loved it. So we made the decision that day. There's actually a picture of us, all three of us. We took a picture of the moment because we're like, we're going to stay all in. And then from there, we rebuilt a new website, and then boom, boom, but little by little, it started to expand.
So what was the shift that you made? I mean, you went from doing the same thing over and over again. I mean, you rebuilt the site, and then what was the try differently moment that caused you guys to start getting some traction other than the decision?
Yeah. So the decision was one. And then the second thing, we went from a la carte ordering. So every single week, you could either order one order or we moved to a subscription model.
If you guys missed it, Nutre is their food prepping business. Okay. And I think you said it earlier, but just to bring everybody on the same page.
Yeah. So we deliver healthy meals on a weekly basis. So you'll get your meals, one time a week on a Sunday or a Monday, depending on where you live, and you have your meals for the week. And that's breakfast, lunch, dinner, snacks, all healthy stuff. So it was a la carte ordering before. So it's like every week we built up our orders. We got to the order deadline. And then the next week you had to completely start over with getting new orders again. You know what I mean? Like we had to start from zero every week. So we had regular customers, but you have to physically go in and place your order every single week. You know what I mean? So the second time after our website crashed, we're like, you know what? Let's try building it with a subscription model. Which was new at the time. Like nobody was doing that. Yeah. So we started that way, but we made it really flexible. Like you can have, it's basically for convenience, because we had more people forgetting to order. Right. Then you know what I'm saying?
Oh yeah. I mean, every time you go onto Amazon, it's like, I'm going to get this. And then you're like, oh, then you see something else you want to get. And the next thing you know, the kids are screaming or the dog is doing something. You're like, I'll come back to that.
Exactly. So it was more about convenience. Like we call it convenience based. Like it's a recurring order, but it's for your convenience. Yeah. You can very easily skip. You could skip, weeks in advance. You could skip a month straight if you want. Yeah. You could cancel, pause, whatever. Like it's very easy to manage, but you don't need to remember to order every week. Yeah. And the website is smart too. So like if you if you don't even click into your menu, it's going to pick a menu very close. It's going to match all your dietary restrictions, your allergies and stuff like that. So the minute we went subscription, we started to build. Like it was week after week, another 10 orders, 5 orders, 10 orders, 15 orders. Then COVID hit, boom, explosion. And at that point, that's when thinking back on it, was way too early. We bought a 30,000 square foot building. So, but we were also in real estate too. So we had like 3 or 4 different ways that we could exit that situation. Like no matter what, it would have been a good investment. Like if we just rented all the bays, fine. If we just took one small bay and rented the rest, fine. Like, so we're really good at like controlling our cash flow and our overhead and being, like resourceful in that regard. So, we right now we fill up the whole building, and it's only, 4 years later, 3 years since we bought the building.
So I'm trying to pull out that, like the strategy for somebody else to use in their business. And I was thinking about, we're at this sticking point where it's like, man, I don't know if we're going to do this anymore. Boom, we sink our teeth in, we make a firm decision. Now we believe in what we're doing. Let's commit to that. Yeah. And then we pivot a little bit. I mean, that's a very tactical thing to do. Let's do a subscription model. But what was the strategy that you guys did that caused you to come up with the subscription? Like if somebody else is in a different business in that situation, they're like, all right, I'm committed. What was the success tip that you did in that moment? Do you remember, or do you have something?
I can't think of anything off the top of my head, but I think it's thinking things differently, like not redoing the same things. Okay. Like
trying differently.
Yeah. Like consciously, like looking back at, looking back at the history and saying, This is what works. This is what didn't. And constantly, what we've always done from the beginning is we survey our customers all the time.
Okay, there you go.
What do our customers need? We put all that together, and the subscription was the outcome.
I think that's huge. We were just talking about this earlier, how I think the best people in their industries have an insatiable desire for improvement. And it usually shows up post-mission. It usually shows up after they get a little bit of traction, and they cannot stop trying to figure out. It's the Kaizen method, always improving. And they don't just say it, they like live by it. They can't stop. It's like an obsession.
Yeah.
We have to do better. We have to figure out a way to do better. We have to do. It was like I was telling you, I trained with Kai Green the other day, and after this guy's been bodybuilding for decades, and immediately following a 3-hour workout that we did, he pauses and he just starts talking. It was almost like he was talking to himself. He wasn't even talking to us. Yeah. And he starts dissecting the entire 3-hour workout. And was like, we could have done this better. We could have done this better. Could have done this better. Yeah. And I'm like, this guy does this every single time. It's just
optimizing everything.
Yeah.
Everything can be optimized, which is huge. My father always says, like, we're always about looking forward. I don't give a shit what happened in the past. Look forward. We're moving forward. But like you said, you need to look back. You have to. You don't need to keep looking back, but you need to glance back. Note, have a discussion about it out loud, what transpired. Take lessons, like conscious points that you're going to remember, and apply it moving forward. Like when you're constantly moving forward, that's something that sometimes we forgot to do, but now we're very diligent about it. Every single like event that happens, we'll stop, look back, have a discussion. What are the takeaways? And we apply it moving forward.
I love that. Maybe one more moment where you're just like, fuck, I don't know if we can do this. Anything can come up, like a really difficult time. Maybe it was a personal one. Like maybe less business, more personal life or something like that, where that was getting overtaken. And
yeah, a point probably when I called you, to be honest. That was like another pivotal moment where we reached a point where we were going to add like another, I don't know, it was like 80 to 100 employees or something. My wife was pregnant with twins. I was in a house that was too small, and I had no plan. Like I just felt like I wasn't ready for that level, straight up. And I knew that I've always had pretty good self-awareness. So like I was aware that I'm not ready for this. I need help. And there was nobody in my circle that I felt could help me. So I reached out to you, and you kind of helped me lay out who I needed to be, what I needed to do, like what my heart desired. And that was huge, man. Like it was a big moment for me I've been building on, ever since. And I ended up, getting the house of my dreams on the same street as all my brothers, which I still 100% wouldn't have happened. The businesses are growing every day. My family life is perfect, knock on wood. Like I'm very lucky and grateful for, my family, which has always just been something that has came easy for me. I grew up in such a strong family foundation. But yeah, man, that was a moment that like there was something happened to me when I knew that those 2 kids were coming, 2 boys too. It's one thing when you have a girl, it's like, I didn't feel like the responsibility, like I need to grow this girl. My wife felt that.
Sure.
She changed overnight. I was just like, I need to just be a good example. But when it was when the boys came and then there was 2 of them, it was like, damn, like I gotta be a great role model for these guys. I need to be able to balance what's coming business wise and be a great dad. Like I'm not gonna miss out on the home part. It's just not gonna happen. And yeah, that was a moment for me. 100%. It's changed my life. I've honestly since I came to that realization where I felt like there was no hope, like I'm fucked. Now I see the world like, bring it.
Yeah.
There's nothing that I can't handle.
If you guys listen, if you're in that tough spot, like Lucio was in, the biggest thing that he just revealed to you is that in that dark moment, what we did, but what he did with his mind was he got focused on creating. When all you're seeing is problems, your whole world around you is going to be, it's like turning on the television, all you see is the news. Yeah. It's going to be like every channel is just chaos and destruction, chaos and destruction, chaos and destruction. It's like, bro, where do I actually want my life to go? Yeah. And what can I do? What are my potentials? What are my possibilities? What are my opportunities? And you got to flip to that channel and then really just start giving it the energy it deserves and build it up,
Yeah. Exposure is so important too. Like, I think exposure is, I've learned in the last like 5 years, like how important that can be for learning and expanding your mind. You know, like when you feel like there's nowhere to go, what do I do? There's somebody who out there who's done it.
Yeah.
You know, at a level 10 times higher than you. There's a lot of people out there, you know, in slightly different scenarios. But getting around people that have done more, you know, you start to put your stuff into perspective. Like when you're too close to your stuff, it could feel overwhelming. Like, man, this is crazy. When you can zoom out and talk to some other people and look at it from the outside, which I think is so important. That's why it's so important to have a coach. Because like you told me, or you made me learn things about myself that I thought I knew, but I really didn't. And it takes an outside person to do that for you. You know, like if you're talking to your wife, you're going to get your wife's side of the story all the time.
Yeah.
If you're talking to your brothers or your parents all the time, which I do, you get their side of the story all the time. But when you get like a true somebody outside your circle, looking at your situation for what it is with no, you know, no personal ties to any of it, it opens your mind huge. I think that was like the biggest shift for me at the time, was really getting an understanding of my flaws, my strengths, where maybe I was better than I thought, or where, damn, I need to work on that more than I realized. And exposing yourself, man, I can't even explain how important that is to learning. Like the second you start exposing yourself to higher level people or people that you aspire to be, it just pulls you up, man. It's like a gravitational it's like gravity. It's like, it's just pulling you towards better things, and it's showing you your life and your entire situation more for what it is, not what you're building up and creating in your head that you think it is.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, like what it could be.
Exactly. And what the potential is.
And what you see, you can't unsee.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like getting in that first Lambo the first time, or the first mansion. As soon as you walk into it, now your brain is stuck on that experience, and it's like, this is a possibility. Holy hell. Like, yeah. Fuck, and I can't unsee it.
Yeah,
you know?
and regular people do it. Like, you know, like that guy, you talk to a billionaire, or like you know, someone who's making hundreds of millions, and you're like, yeah, I can hang with this guy.
Yeah.
You know, why can't I do that?
Yeah.
You know, he just made a couple different moves. He approaches things slightly different. But it's all possible. Once you realize it's possible, that's a major unlock.
Yeah, a lot of people, this is really good, because a lot of people kind of get stuck at that stage of putting themselves in the right room, you know, where they, and even you see this online, like obviously I'm online a lot. You're starting to get more and more online, getting yourself out there and building your personal brand. And, but a lot of people stay on the other side. They stay on the consumer side, and they never really, you know, they forget that it's actual people on the other side of what they're consuming. Mm-hmm. And sometimes they'll even get an opportunity to go hang out with that person or go to an event with that person or whatever, but they still talk themselves out of it. They're like, I'm not ready yet.
Yeah.
What do you think prevents a person from crossing that barrier into getting in the rooms that they want to be in?
It's probably self-doubt. You know, you think like, I can't hang with these guys. You know, I'm going to stick out, you know, but there's honor. Even if you do stick out, you know, there's honor in showing up to that. And true entrepreneurs and high level people, they'll see that for what it is. Like if you're being your true authentic self and you're not pretending to be somebody you're not, like true entrepreneurs and real high level people that get it, they're going to see that and appreciate that. And they'll help you out. You know, like that's one thing you learn about higher level people is they're all collaborating.
Yeah.
You know, no one's like trying to keep you down. You know, they instantly want to pull you up. Yeah,
they don't have any judgment. They know they've been where you're at. So when you show up and they're levels ahead of you, they're actually like impressed because you showed up.
Exactly. And you said it, like levels ahead of you. It's not like you're less than me. No, I've been in it for longer. I'm just further down the line. That's it. Yeah. But you're no different than me. You know, I was you 10 years ago.
Yeah. You said another hard moment for you was at the beginning of the show was basically taking off the apron and going to basically owner from operator. I know you still see yourself a little bit as like a hybrid, you know, owner operator, which I think that identity is a healthy identity to have no matter how much or how big or what level you're on.
Yeah.
But what was difficult about going from working in the business to on it, and how'd you make that shift?
The hard part was
it fear?
I don't know if it was it was a couple things. One, like I felt like I was a better operator like working closely. You know, like I felt like that was my identity at the time.
Okay.
So I had to reframe my mind to become more of a CEO, you know, less of like a small group leader, you know, like in the mix every single day. Cause I was great at that. That's like, if I look back in time, like I crushed that. That was like one of my most successful times. So it felt good to be good at something too, you know? So it was just such an identity shift for me, you know, to separate from it and lead from a higher level. But you know, little by little, you just have to break through the mold. And also with the way systems are set up, which I learned too, you start to learn about like scalability of your company. When I get removed from the company, that company was built around me, you know, or that location or whatever was built to operate with me as the leader. Right. When you take that person out, it doesn't function without you, you know? So a lot of people are still relying on you. You know, I've had employees for 10 years that are used to working for me. Now they're working for somebody else, you know? So that's a hard, it's still, even now, even to this day, I'll have people that, you know, should be going through, you know, their direct leader, they'll come directly to me, you know, which is
familiar.
It's so familiar, like, you know, but that was such a hard thing to break. It's like, no, man, I understand you're comfortable with me, but you got to talk to him, you know, and it's a hard balance because part of you thinks like, how are they going to perceive this? You know, they're going to think I don't care if I say, hey, just talk to him, you know? So that really was a hard, man. It took like a year to fully separate from that situation. It was, I would say it was a good solid year for all staff to understand like what we were trying to do. And this is the way it needs to be in order for us to continue growing. And it's a good thing for everybody because it's going to create more opportunity for everybody.
Okay. So a lot of the difficulty was just basically in, getting the team to understand what changes were going to happen, how you weren't going to be there to be the direct report. Yeah. And how they needed to go funnel that stuff to somebody else.
Yeah, it was so much time, it just years and years and years of them used to the same thing. Yeah. So that it was just such a big shift in thinking that, you know, it was just new. Anything new was uncomfortable. But you know, it was worth it.
Yeah. I'm thinking of somebody right now that just has fear of stepping out of that role because they're not going to find the person that can do a good enough job as them. Yes. And any thoughts or, you know, advice to that person?
Yeah, it's hire slow and fire fast. Yeah. You know, you're going to miss on people. You know, I've missed on plenty of people. It's like 50-50 if you hit or miss. I think 50-50, if you can hit on 50%, you did good.
Do you think it's better for them to pick the person and put them in the spot and just go through either the growing pains or the failure pains faster? Or... Because a lot of those guys will just sit on the idea of putting somebody in their spot, but it'll be that story that they never overcome. Oh, it's not the right person. It's not this person.
It's the biggest moment. Yeah, it really is.
Do you think they should just pull, like somebody like that, do you think they should just pull the trigger? Or do you think they should wait till they feel like it's right? What do you think?
You can't overthink it. I mean, if it feels pretty good, just pull the trigger, you know, because you're never going to find the perfect person.
So how do they make that decision on whether they have the right person?
I think it's based on the values. You feel comfortable with that person. You know, a lot of it has to do with your instincts. You know, like how do you feel really? What's your really true gut instinct on somebody? You know, like I remember this one person specifically that on paper, it was actually a woman. She should have taken us to the fucking moon. You know, but there was always that like, I don't know, man.
Something's off.
So she's a little too much. You know, it's a little. You know, the staff didn't take to her right away, you know, like there wasn't, and we care more about our staff, our people, like naturally. It's like, we want to make sure our people are taken care of. We're not just going to bring in this, you know, this tyrant. She's going to wipe out half the staff, replace them with other people. Even if we're growing and it's working, that's just not who we are. Yeah. You know, like we want to take care of our people. So I learn a lot by asking the employees. If I bring in a manager, I'll do an audit, you know, a couple months later, how's it going? You know, like I'll do an anonymous audit to all employees, and it'll ask questions like, do you feel supported by your manager? Do you feel like you were trained correctly? Yeah. Is there anything that you'd like us to know? And that's honestly the best tool ever. You learn everything you need to know about your leadership right there. Yep. So yeah, as far as whether or not the thing is, if you fire fast, you can make a mistake, you know, but just don't wait too long. And that's the biggest thing. And that's the hardest thing too. You absolutely need to be able to separate your feelings and make the tough decision if it's not the right thing for your company, because that person is not going to give a shit at the end of the day if you go out of business.
I love that. Guys, that's a freaking fire little segment right there, because firing fast, like a lot of you guys, a lot of your relationship problems, whether it's in business or your life, a lot of that comes from the person that you're talking to giving you their best self and giving everybody else their real self. And so like that's something that I had to learn in the military, and then even in business, is that I realize that the person that I'm talking to, especially if they're going to be underneath my leadership, that who they're showing up as is not the full picture. Mm-hmm. That I'm going to see their best self because they're presenting themselves to me. Mm-hmm. So I always look beyond how they're treating me, and I look at how are they treating other people. What are the things other people are saying about that person? Mm-hmm. You know, and then I really try to like remove myself from it, because I already have this like weakness where I don't pay a lot attention to a person's weaknesses, and I see the best in them all the time. Yeah. And that can be problematic, because like the person could be having some major issues, and I might bypass them because I see their potential, you know. But I think that's huge, is like looking beyond them. And when you start picking up on those indicators, you have to fight your confirmation bias. Yeah. Like you're trying to, as a leader and hiring somebody, or maybe dating somebody or whatever, you're trying to see the good in them to confirm that you were right about the person.
Yeah. Exactly.
So
you want to validate like the hire you made.
Right. You don't want to be wrong that you brought in a person that might not be a fucking fit, or that's a shitty person. Mm-hmm. So you got to see past that. Yeah. You have a really good perspective on time. Like we were talking about that a little bit earlier too. You know, obviously we talked about having multiple businesses. You're obviously a father, a husband. And one of the things that people see in you is as a strength is your ability to manage, you know, time. Mm-hmm. Do you feel like you're as good as time as people see you as?
I think I'm getting better, you know, probably. I think other people, I don't know. It's one of those things that I've just always done naturally. Like that's just how my brain operates.
Yeah. I think you're an optimizer. So you're gonna make the time flow and make it get like structured.
Yeah, 100%. I literally, if I get up like in the middle of the night to go to the bathroom and I'm thirsty, I think like, what's the more efficient way to do this? I swear on my life. Like if I could get a drink first, then take a piss, then get back to bed like a minute earlier, that's what I'll do.
Do you do that when you leave the house? Like you're like, I could have left the house a minute earlier.
Yeah, 100%. Like everything I do, that's the way I think about literally everything, to be honest.
I'm very similar like that. I like to live my day. Like if I teach somebody, I'm like, I try to live the same day every day. That way I get a shot at redoing that day over again and getting more efficient at it.
Yeah, that's true.
So what are some of your, like, how do you approach, let's just say we got somebody that is feeling like they're pulled all over the place. They got a growing business. They're stuck in the middle of it. They want to get a person to replace them. They, they can't seem to get 15 minutes to themselves. They're sleeping 3 or 4 hours a night. Yeah. What's the advice you give to them in that situation when it comes to time?
You got to do an audit. I do this to myself, like I would say almost every quarter, and I'll write down actually what I do in a day. Not what you think you did, because your mind is crazy, man. Like it plays tricks on you. It's like, what did I actually do today? What did I really, really do at the end of the day? And you start to separate those tasks. Like, do I really need to be doing this? Do I have somebody already that works for me that can fulfill these things that doesn't add any cost? And then if it's a bunch of stuff, it's like, maybe it's time to hire for that role specifically. And I look at every task that I do. If it's not moving the needle, I get it off my plate. That's full time. Like that's another thing that's just constantly going through my head. Almost everything that I need to do, even if it's answering the phone, did I need to get that phone call? Did I need to fix this thing? Did I need to go here and deal with that? That's every time I'm going there. It's not because I'm lazy, like I even have my father think sometimes like, just fucking do it. And I'm like, yeah, I know I can, but if I don't need to, I'm not going to. Yeah.
What's the opportunity cost?
Yeah. What's it costing me? Like you need to value your time. And it's easy to get sucked into, it's easier if I do it myself. But next thing you know, that compounds over time and you're doing everything yourself and you're losing time on the things that are going to propel you forward. Even if you don't know what to be doing to propel you forward, which is another thing. Cause I always used to think, okay, if I'm not doing this, I have nothing better to do anyway. You know what I mean? Like that's the thoughts that would go through my head, but I'd still remove them off my plate.
Yes.
And then that opens up room for what you should be doing. Like the answer just will come once you have the space in your mind and in your life to to find, you know what I'm saying? To find the things that are going to propel you forward. You don't need to know what it is yet.
You got to create space for the opportunities that you want to, that you might not know about.
Right. It's like cracking the window, like letting the air in, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And in nature, it pours a vacuum. So whenever there is space, it's going to fill it with something. Mm-hmm. It's not just going to sit there and be dead space. Like it's always going to fill with something. And if you're a productive thinking person, it's going to get filled with an opportunity that you think you need to pursue.
Yes.
You know, even when I, when I changed my like fitness disciplines, one of the things like as I first started getting into MMA, the routine was so much different because MMA was completely dependent upon the class schedules, you know, and when I train, I can pick my own time because I can go to the gym when I want to go or do the outdoor workout when I go. So what I started doing was while I had work that I was doing at those times. So I just started making myself go to the practice anyway. Mm-hmm. And then I gave myself the option of either going to practice or just work. Mm-hmm. I don't care, but go there. Yeah. And then just go through the habit and the routine of doing it. And little by little, like you said, the space starts opening up, and then you start reprioritizing the things that are important to you to get dialed in.
Exactly. Unless you have the time and the space, you're going to stay in that cycle. It's like you need to break the loop. It's like I'm constantly trying to break the loop. Like you keep the consistencies, the disciplines tight, but I'm always trying to break the mold of what I'm doing on a daily basis because I'm also like by nature consistent. Like if I get into something I'm doing, okay, I'm doing this every Saturday, you know, and it's okay. I'm okay with it. I'll do it until I'm fucking dead, the way my personality is, you know. But if I can move those little tasks, now I have Saturdays open. Yeah. What can I do with Saturdays? How can I make Saturdays a day that produces?
You guys write that shit down. That's a really important part that we just went into. It's about time. And then I'll just recap it into two things. The first thing about time is that you can't make more time, but you can always make better use of it. And then the second thing is that if it doesn't move the needle, get rid of it. Mm-hmm. Task it out, delegate it, get it off your plate, and only focus on the things that move the damn needle forward.
Yeah. Don't be afraid if you're early too, man. Like if it's going to cost a little money to get those things off your plate, that's where people get stuck. You know, they don't want to you need to be confident enough to spend money. Like if you need to, and it doesn't need to be full time either. This is another thing that I think people screw up.
I like that. I like this part.
You know what I mean? If you need to get a handful of things off your plate, and that can get done with one person, 1 day a week, it's going to be 6 hours. Find somebody just for that. Yeah. You know, and if you don't like it, just end it. You know, but you should at least try it, and don't get stuck on, man, I don't have the money. Like if you have just enough cash flow to support that, that's how you grow. You need to be able to take those steps. You're going to be stuck in that sequence that you just can't break out of.
Yeah, I love that. You know, just hiring either by the one project or 1 day a week. Or
maybe by the project is a good point.
Yeah, or maybe it's 1 month. Let's do this for 1 month. I got like some extra money coming in. Yep. Not extra, but whatever. I can make my margins fit, and let me just allocate this to this 1 month to free up my time and see what happens with my time when I do that.
Exactly.
What about family time? Obviously, with multiple things going on, multiple businesses. You know, I know we've talked a little bit about how you don't really mess with Sundays, I believe, right? Yeah. Like Sunday's your family time or window. Try to be.
Yeah. So I grew up in a big Italian family, so Sunday's always been our day. You know, like my whole family gets together still now. My parents, my brothers, their wives, all their kids. Sunday's our day. If real business comes up and it's something that needs to get done, you know, whoever needs to handle it will handle it. Like we're not like ignorant about it. Like we're not working Sundays. Like if things fall on a Sunday, we take care of it. Sure. But we try as much as we possibly can to keep that Sunday as just like a straight family refresher. Try not to think too much about business, even though 98% of the time it's a business discussion, you know, because that's just what we like to talk about. But we try and keep it separate. And then the time that I have with my own family, like my real family, my wife and my kids, you know, it's routine. We bake it into the day. It's on the calendar. You know, it's almost run like a business. And it was a weird conversation even to have with my wife, about, in the beginning, I obviously didn't manage it correctly, right? Like when I just had kids and I was never home. Like I missed a lot of shit. I left my wife home to deal with stuff on her own.
Yeah. It wasn't optimized.
It wasn't optimized. Exactly. So I looked at it. I'm like, you know what? Let's try putting it in the calendar. My entire life runs off the calendar. Let's block off time. What days do you want to hang out this week? And we did it in advance. So my schedule is usually like a week out to like a week and a half. It'll start to get full. So we'll put things in the calendar at least 2 weeks in advance. block off whatever time is going to be meant for us. If it's in my calendar, I'm there.
Yeah.
You know, like I'm like a robot like that.
Yeah.
So we built it into our life in addition to like the little automatics, like I'm driving my daughter to school. You know, we're eating dinner on whatever, Sundays we're all together, like those things that are built into the weekly. But like really being intentional about creating time and space for, you know, my wife and kids has been important. And more importantly, during those times, being all in, you know, like when those times do come, my phone's away, you know, it's probably off or it's, you know, not even close to me. And I'm really trying to make that the most quality, impactful time that I possibly can because I don't have a lot of it. So I think that creates more quality within the time that we do have, you know, versus I guess being with your family 24/7. You don't appreciate the time that you have. So I feel honestly like I truly feel grateful and like happy to be there when I'm with them. And I just double down on that and just appreciate it and savor it as much as I can.
What are one or two things that you do to, one, personally recharge? Because, you know, having Sunday as a family day,
Yeah.
that it still takes your attention, your time, your focus, and you're still kind of in that flow state of just doing.
Mm-hmm.
And then, yeah, like recharging, and then also a thing maybe for to see the bigger picture. Like, how do you personally take a step back?
Yeah.
So those two things.
So
Recharging first.
yeah, recharging, meditation, man, is so important for me.
Yeah.
You know, for me, it's a sense of recharging, just like separating. And I usually do it in the woods. Like I love nature. You know, I have a trail near my house. So I love to be out there. Like that's my.
Is that like a daily, weekly? Like how often is that?
It's at least a few times a week.
Yeah.
You know, so that's when I'm out there like that. That's my time. You know, like when I'm out there, I feel like I'm just literally like plugged in, being recharged.
Yeah.
And then I'll meditate for 20 minutes while I'm out there. And that helps a lot. Exercising daily, you know, I consider that recharging, just kind of like filling up my cup again. And Sundays, you know, that's like the weekly reset. You know, it's like you have to be able to take breaks too.
Yeah.
Like there's like I don't know what the word is for it, but entrepreneurs, you hear from other people like this, it's 24/7, there's no break, it's day and night. It is, but you need to be able to take breaks, you know. Now we learned that later on because me and my whole family's number one, dude. We'll work 24 hours a day, 7 days a week straight until we're dead, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And we never took breaks, never took vacations. We just go with no break. And then all of a sudden 1 year, we took a family trip to Aruba for 1 week. And after that trip, springboarded like this, like it was just like a series of growth. And we were like, holy shit, dude, all this stuff happened after we took that vacation. That was like the first vacation we took in like, I don't know, years. I would say at least 10 years, not even kidding. That was more than like a day or two, like a weekend trip.
Yeah, it was a big step back, or to see the whole picture.
Yeah, it's like, one, you get to be able to see how your companies operate without you there, which is a really important reason to take vacations on its own. To be able to see how it holds up while you're gone and where the weak points are within your company. You learn that real quick when you go on vacation. And it's another thing that's getting optimized every time you go away. And then you get a true break. Like you rest your brain, you know, just give your brain a chance to chill. And you start to see things differently. And then, I would say at least you want to go on a 1 week vacation, minimum once a year. And it's got to be for at least a week straight. And then in between that, you know, weekend here and there when you need it. But you got to be able to start, you know, listening to yourself, like listening to your heart, you know, your body, when you truly feel like you need a break, and don't ignore it and don't feel bad about it. Like I talk to some younger entrepreneurs now and they feel like every time they stop working, you know, they're doing something wrong. You know, like I can't take the day off. Like I have too much stuff to do. And there's two things I tell them. It's either one, you're not productive enough during the time that you are working. So you subconsciously feel like you need to do more, which I've been there. You know, I've had nights where I'll sit in the parking lot of one of the restaurants until midnight because I feel like I didn't do enough that day, you know? Or you just need to get used to the fact that you need to take a break, you know, like you just have to. It's just healthy.
Yeah. I think a lot of the guys, it's, at least these younger ones, it's like you said, they either aren't doing the real work during the business, and then they're trying to justify
by a late night.
Yeah, taking some time off. They don't need it. Or like their time off is not really time off.
Yeah.
It's like people mistake fun for partying and like just debauchery and just,
Right.
you know, just overeating and being lazy
Yeah.
and shit. And that's actually more damaging than staying working.
Right.
Like, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
shit. So it's like when you take a time off, are you actually unplugging? Are you actually letting your brain think and letting yourself, are you doing it in a healthy way?
Yep.
You know?
That's important.
Last thing I want to hit on is on health. You know, what benefits, you know, there's two things about this that really have my attention. And it's the first one is, you know, what the business benefits have been for you when it comes to taking care of your health. And then the second thing is, a lot of guys that like follow my content believe in health and fitness and taking care of themselves, but they're in teams that don't necessarily have the same values, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So I want to dive into that just a little bit, but, yeah, what are some things that you did for your health that had massive benefits in business?
Yeah. So physically, for me personally, like physically, I always, I was a pretty like standard kid. I never felt like I was overweight, never really underweight, but I was just like, okay, you know, like I was an average guy and I was okay with that for a while. And I don't really know what changed. I think I just wanted to be more optimized. Like I wanted to have more energy, more just like velocity when doing things. Cause you realize too, once you start to get to like the higher levels, that when your mind isn't sharp, when it needs to be sharp, an opportunity could whiz right by your head and you don't even know.
Yeah.
Because, you know, you overate for lunch or you didn't get enough sleep. And it's like, the pencil needs to be sharp all day long, 24/7. And the way to do that is to take care of your body, and it's to take care of your mind. So that's really what got me into focusing more on my health and fitness. And then, you know, also what happens inadvertently is that you start to feel better about your body, you know, and that builds confidence in yourself, which I never had before. So it makes a big difference, man. It's all about your vibrations, the energy you're putting out to other people. And when you feel really good about yourself, you're projecting that out there. And other people feel it, other people can sense it, and it just compounds, you know, on top of like the mental clarity you have, even like the actual physical benefits, like being able to physically get through stuff that you couldn't before.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, it's the foundation of it. If you're not doing at least that, you're doing it wrong. Like if you're an overstressed entrepreneur and you know you're not getting any sleep and you're working, I could tell you might think you're doing it right, because I've been through that, and it's like, oh, you know what? Nobody deals with the shit I have to deal with. You know, this is normal for an entrepreneur. No, it's not.
Yeah.
You know, like the really high level guys, take a look around and start studying the 100 millionaires and the billionaires. Those dudes they're in shape.
Yeah, they stop letting life punk them. Like that's what happens in a situation like that, is that life starts just jacking them up, punking them around, telling them to stay in their place, instead of growing strong enough to put life in its place.
Yes, 100%. You fucking nailed it. It's like you have the bull. You're in charge now. You're driving the ship.
Right.
You know, you're not just getting kicked around. You know, you're in charge. You're running the day. You have the bull by the horns.
Yeah, and when you guys feel that way, you have that internal strength, right? Like when you say you're going to go to the gym, you wake up and you train. And even if it's on a bad day, like that, if some of you guys are in shape, but on those days, maybe you normally want to opt out and you're like, well, I'm already in shape, I don't need to go train. But when you choose to stay on the path during those difficult days, you build up more internal strength, more internal confidence, and then people feel that. People have this, you know, sensor to them where they can pick up on your aura. Mm-hmm. And when you're that person that is like, this guy's a freight train, man. He's not stopping, man.
And that's so much more important than you realize. Like people don't put enough attention to that. Like just a 5% change in your energy for the day or where you are consistently could change your entire life.
Oh, absolutely.
Your entire life can change over a small marginal difference in your daily energy.
Yeah. I notice a huge shift in my shit, even when I'm very dialed in versus just like on my normal shit.
Yeah.
I'm like, all of a sudden, when I'm super dialed in, it's like leads. It's just leads. It's
Yeah,
like
you're sucking
I'm
them
just
in.
and it's for everything in life. It's like
Yeah.
this is gonna better my relationship area of my life. This is gonna better my business. This is gonna better my fitness. It's like next thing you know, I'm training with world class athletes, and I'm
Yeah.
like, how the hell did this happen?
Yeah, how can I do this all the time? That's what you start to think, like, I need to be in this state of mind. It's hard because it's like cyclical. Like when you're super dialed like that, it's like you feel like you could move a mountain with, you know?
That's what I was telling you. The fasting has really helped with that. Like, between macros and fasting, I can hit that pocket where I feel like this is the craziest shit. I know this is a little segment or a little tangent, but I was like 2 weeks in a row, I went into the gym and I was fasting both times. And normally, you know, you walk into my interactions at the gym is I say what's up to people and I keep kind of moving.
Yeah.
But I was like moving through the gym and people were like stopping, turning, and coming over to me, like literally like a magnet. And I was like kind of taken back that people were approaching me as I was like going to my shit.
Yeah.
And they were just starting conversations, asking me questions.
It's unbelievable.
And it was just like you said, it's like a magnet that you've created. But I noticed that with the food, bringing the food to the right ratios, and then fasting was another one where I noticed it.
It's serious, man. It's like a physical scientific fact. Everything's energy.
Yeah.
You know?
The other question that I asked you was taking a step back, which you mentioned the way that you take a step back is, or a way was that once a year, once a week vacation. Is there anything else that you do to take a step back that you would recommend to somebody?
Honestly, I'm pretty shitty at hobbies, you know? I still need to find one. But for me, my hobby's like meditation and nature.
Yeah.
You know, as much as I can get out there, that's what I do. And then I take my breaks when I need to.
Nature is huge, guys. This is a big thing for especially top level people. Like if you, I think Bezos even does like a getaway, and then who's that guy that was it Gates that would put himself in a room for like a week? I can't remember, but either way, taking this step back, and then nature specifically. When you guys pull back and you get into nature, you actually open up how far you can see, because nature is huge, right? So if you go to a mountain or you go to a trail, you start seeing the world, and that expands your thinking. You're not just like thinking with the ideas that can fill this room that we're in, with the walls that we're in.
It is. Nature does something crazy. I saw some videos that really explained it like really well. Like when you're in nature, it ties you to like the past, the future. Like it's like this weird dynamic. It's like this tree has been here for so many hundreds of years. It's seen so many things. And it just opens like
your perspective.
Yeah, it's crazy the way it just, there's nothing more, I don't know, that powerful than nature. It's the most powerful thing we have.
You think way bigger than just your current problem. You know, it was when I was in Colorado. I used to go out to the trails out there, and there was this one route that I would take at it was across from the Garden of the Gods, and this rock face that I would climb was kind of built like a dragon's back. Yeah. And I would go over there and I'd run up it all the time, and I would get to the top of it and I would look out, and it was basically like a cliff, and then you would be able to overlook all of Colorado Springs.
That's cool.
And I would get there and I would stand up there, and I would just be up there for like good 15 or 20 minutes. And my mind started doing that. It started thinking about history, the world. And I was like, man, Alexander the Great was in his damn 30s, and he conquered the known world in terrain like this. And I'm sitting on top of this rock just like looking at Colorado Springs. I mean, can you imagine going by horse and foot trying to clear this like town? And I'm like, this guy literally took over the known world in his 30s, and people are complaining that they can't, like, whatever some trivial problem is over here, you know?
It's so true, man. It's so true.
Puts it all into perspective.
100%.
Solid. With your team. So creating a culture of health. Where have you had success, and where have you had some challenges with that?
I think it's just doing it, you know, like not worrying about what other people are doing and just doing it yourself, and just hoping that it's attracting other people. You're setting the example for other people that follow.
Because you got your dad's on a pretty good track right now, right?
Yeah, it's kind of just happened, you know, like I don't know like who got on it first. But I don't know. It's like you can't push other people. Everyone's in a different place on their health journey and like what their perception is of it. But I think the best thing to create a culture of it around you is just to do it and show people, you know, hey, look at me, not really saying anything about it. You know, take your little chances when you can, to try and push other people onto it, but just focus on doing it yourself. And I'm pretty sure that other people will just catch on and follow.
Yeah. Well, it reminds me of, there's two things when it comes to people, and it's, the teacher appears when the student's ready.
Yeah.
You know, and then the other thing is that people want to change, but people don't like to be changed.
Yes.
You really have to find like that person that's looking for the transformation, that's looking for the next step, or else you're just dragging that horse to water, you know?
Exactly. You keep telling somebody it's you know, it's a shitty cycle. It's not even worth, you know, it's just don't even worry about it, because it can stress you out too when you want somebody to do something so bad and they're just not taking to it. But it's, you know, everyone, you just have to think about it. Everyone is on their own path. The best thing that you could do for that person is to just continue showing them how to do it. When
your dad started getting his health in order, who was it, or was there somebody that really started elevating their health and fitness? Or, because usually that's what I've seen is like there's like this period of growth that happens. Like somebody will start taking off and they'll start making some incremental improvements. They'll get inspired and they'll start turning around. Hey guys, you got to try this. You got to try this too. Yeah. But it's not until their results really like start to show that this other person's like, damn, I got to get my shit together.
I think what happened is my father might have followed me, to be honest.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know. I never really thought about that.
Yeah.
To be honest, but I think.
But it happened like
timeline wise, that's how it happened. You know, and then everyone's following suit. You know, my brothers have been on the journey for a while. Like we're kind of at different points of it, but it's everyone's consistently intentional about their health and our family, for sure.
I mean, that was a big thing in my family with drinking. Mm-hmm. You know, that was, you know, obviously there's the working outside, the nutrition piece, but once one person stopped drinking, it was like now all of a sudden everybody else is kind of starting to ask some questions, and it wasn't until there was some sobriety for a while, and it was like, okay, this stuck, and holy shit, this person actually looks younger. This person actually looks more energetic. What are you doing to your, what are you doing that's making you look younger? You're reverse aging, and all of a sudden everybody else is talking about ways to cut the drinking from their life. You know?
Yeah, it's exactly that.
Yeah, hell yeah, man. Well, we covered a lot of stuff. Is there any subject I should have hit on that I might have missed that you wanted to dive into for them? Do they have to know?
They need to know. I don't know. I think we hit a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
You know?
We did. What's your overall message to young entrepreneurs?
Don't quit when it gets hard. It's going to get hard. It's absolutely going to get hard. And I think younger people now are so quick to find the easy route, and there is some positive to that. You don't want to just be running uphill all the time, but you need to give it a good shot. So when you run into adversity, just keep going. You just can't quit. Make changes, make adjustments, but don't quit.
Man, yeah, you guys heard that. Don't quit at the hard spot. Tomorrow or after the season's over, but not today.
Exactly. Yep.
Oh yeah. Well, thanks for coming on, man.
Thank you.
I really appreciate it.
Appreciate it.
Guys, if you laughed, if you learned, if you feel inspired, share this show with a friend, send it to a starting entrepreneur or a leader. So you guys know, you're thinking of somebody right now that this really made an impact on, and that could make an impact on in your life. So you just share it with them. And the thing I forgot to hit them on was just like where to connect with you if they wanted to.
You can find me on Instagram. It's at Lucio Perrina _. So it's LUCIO PERRINA _. You can find me usually at one of our restaurants, Toscana restaurants. We're all over the North Shore of Massachusetts. Soon to be more, and we also you can eat some of our food at Nutre Meals, which covers the entire East Coast. So that's NUTREmeals.com.
Yeah, you guys got to check out the Nutre company. You got to check out his social media. And by the way, if you come from the show, DM him and just say be the leader in the message so that he knows where you're coming from. And I want you guys to reach out to him. Tell him, hey, I love the show. I listen to Be the Leader. I know Jeremiah, or if we don't know each other, that's fine too. But either way, hit him up and let him know that the show made an impact on you, because I want him to hear how it did, okay? So appreciate you guys. Like I said, share it if you enjoyed it. Until next time, be the leader.
It's in you. You possess the power. Just go hard. I need some motivation. Every day I try a little harder, but my dedication. Keep my head way, way above the water. Proud of myself when I yell at the wall. Begging to run, but I needed to crawl. I see the finish line up ahead, trying to get traction from all of this tread. I am a king, I am a queen. I am more than the people can see. I am strong when I'm needing to be. Vulnerability's nothing to me. You can try, but I'm unshakable. My successes is never debatable. I'm chameleon, I'm so interchangeable. Here's to you and all that you are capable.